Islam, Hibu, Haq, Salam, Huriyatun wa Adl, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I, self, law, am master, Elias Bey, your host. Resolution: east to west in the way to pray. Title of this video comes from chapter 41, Inconstancy, from the Circle 7 Quran, Holy Instructions from the Prophet, and I'll read this chapter. Nature urgeth thee to inconstancy, O man, therefore guard thyself at all times against it. Thou art from the womb of thy mother, various and wavering, from the loins of thy father inheriteth thou instability. How then shalt thou be firm? Those who gave thee a body furnished it with weakness, but he who gave thee a soul armed thee with resolution. Employ it, and thou art wise. Be wise, and thou art happy. Let him who doeth well beware how he boasteth of it, for rarely is it of his own will. Is not the event of an impulse from without, born of uncertainty, enforced by accident, dependent on somewhat else? To thee and to accident is due the praise. Beware of irresolution in the intent of thy actions. Beware of instability in the execution. So shalt thou triumph over two great failings of thy nature. What reproacheth reason more than to act contrarieties? What can suppress the tendency to these but firmness of mind? Establish unto thyself principles of action, and see that thou ever act according to them. So shall thy passions have no rule over thee. So shall thy constancy ensure unto thee the good thou possesseth, and drive from thy door misfortune. Anxiety and disappointment shall be strangers to thy gates. Suspect not evil in anyone until thou seest it. When thou seest, forget it not. Whoso hath been an enemy cannot be a friend, for man mendeth not his faults. How should his actions be right, who hath no rule of his life? Nothing can be just which proceedeth not from reason. The inconstant hath no peace in his soul, neither can be at ease whom he concerneth himself with. His life is unequal, his motions are irregular, his soul changeth with the weather. Today he loveth thee, tomorrow thou art detested by him, and why? Himself knoweth not wherefore he now hateth. Today he is the tyrant, tomorrow thy servant is less humble, and why? He who is arrogant without power will be servile while there is no subjection. Today he is profuse, tomorrow he grudgeth unto his mouth that which it should eat. Thus it is with him who knoweth not moderation. Who shall say of the chameleon, he is black, when the moment after the verdure of the grass overspreadeth him? Who shall say of the inconstant, he is joyful, when his next breath shall be spent in sighing? What is the life of such a man but the phantom of a dream? In the morning he riseth happy, at noon he is on the rack. This hour he is a god, the next below a worm. One moment he laugheth, the next he weepeth. He now willeth, in an instant he willeth not, and in another he knoweth not whether he willeth or not. Yet neither ease nor pain have fixed themselves on him, neither is he waxed greater or become less, neither hath he had cause for laughter or reason for his sorrow. Therefore shall none of them abide with him. The happiness of the inconstant is as a palace built on the surface of the sand. The blowing of the wind carrieth away its foundation. What wonder then that it falleth? But what exalted form is this, that hitherward directs its even, its uninterrupted course? Whose foot is on earth, whose head is above the clouds? On his brow sitteth majesty, steadiness is in his port, and in his heart reigneth tranquillity. Though obstacles appear in his way, he deigneth not to look down upon them. Though heaven and earth oppose his passage, he proceedeth. The mountains sink beneath his tread, the waters of the ocean are dried upon the sole of his foot. The tiger throweth herself across his way in vain. The spots of the leopard glow against him unregarded. He marcheth through the embattled legions. With his hands he putteth aside the terrors of death. Storms roar against his shoulders, but are not able to shake them. The thunder bursteth over his head, in vain. The lightning serveth but to show the glories of his countenance. His name is resolution. He cometh from the utmost part of the earth. He seeth happiness afar off before him. His eye discovereth her temple beyond the limits of the pole. He walketh up to it. He entereth boldly, and he remaineth there forever. Establish thy heart, O man, in that which is right, and then know, the greatest of human is to be immutable. Islam, the true definition of I, self, law, am master. The perfect, divine, immutable, immortal self, operating upon the indefinite or the definite principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, which manifest to harmony in all affairs of life. Note, this chapter 41, Inconstancy, has 33 verses. 33 verses. 33 verses. Now, this is significant for two reasons. One, 33 represents the full expression of the life of the Christ, who was crucified or glorified or raised up into heaven with his Father, into that exalted state of mind, east, at his 33rd degree. Bearing in mind that the human spinal column, or the River Jordan, has 33 chain links, which the Kundalini or life force energy must rise itself up to until it gets into the skull, the place of the skull, where it is crucified, raised up, increased in voltage 1,000 times, thus illuminating the Most High, or the brain, and descending back into earth, or traveling west into the physical body to preach the gospel of goodwill to men and peace on earth. Another interesting correspondence is that there are 33 degrees in what you call Blue Lodge or craft, or Western European, Scottish Rite and York Rite masonry, which is modeled off of the Moorish science of the ancient Chemedans and Egyptians and Atlanteans, the most ancient science on earth, which is the guiding principle of the Moorish American of today, Islam. And so in this chapter resolution, I call your attention to the two phases of man as shown in chapter 3 of the Circle 7, the higher self and the lower self. The human spirit, clothed in soul, is an immortal vessel of illimitable perfection, guided by right and exact principles in harmony with the highest ethers, or the perfected thoughts of Allah. It is spiritual, it is unmanifest, it is pure, meaning that it has absolute dominance over the conditions of earth. However, planted as a seed, or planted as the ego in the body of man and in the carnal life, then it develops an adverse nature, or an illusory nature, the lower self. The body of desires clothed in flesh, distorted by the murky ethers of the flesh, which manifests inharmony and injustice, and what we could say hatred, falsehood, non-peace, or a state of constant inner and outer turmoil due to the inexactness of the principles. As it said, he who has no rule of his life cannot never establish himself in blessedness. He who does not establish his every thought, emotion, and action and word on right and exact principles can never attain unto the highest blessedness. And the last two, in the lower self also manifests slavery and injustice or corruption. And so one of these natures dwelling within every man is perfect, made in the form of Allah, made in the form of the universal law. Therefore his decree is always righteousness. The other can never fix itself because it's unstable. It is unstable, various and wavering. It comes from the womb of the mother, infused with instability from its father. Therefore it can never attain unto strength unless it throws itself unhesitatingly upon the strength of its own thought, upon the immortality of its own inner nature. Ponder well upon these things, because in them is a great secret. Man's inner nature is essentially perfect, and the goal of earth is to bring that perfection, or the goal of life is to bring that perfection to earth, to manifest it in your works, in your deeds, in your teachings. It must be remembered that the allegorical story of Jesus, the Christ, Yeshua ben Yosef, was a story of trials and tribulations manifold, of constant travel and study and teaching and works, emphasis on works. He embodied the principles of truth, sought them from the great unseen world, sought them from the very bosom of Allah, and sought them also among the men of earth, searching for light on heaven and in earth. Then he taught these divine principles, but not only taught them, he walked before and showed the way on every span of ground, left his footprint clearly cut, that all may see and know that he, the master, also tread this way. And so we must be practical and bring our divine science into action, into practice. And the way we do that is through our thought, by maintaining or concentrating on the perfect principles and seeking out every means by which we may put them into active manifestation in our life, in our community, Islam. And now to explain and to give you symbols of the Masonic or Moorish science of the East and the West and the direction to pray. God is universal. God is the holy, immutable spirit that permeates all spaces of seen and unseen reality. God is the perfect, pure, unseen, invisible spiritual essence that through transmutation, which is brought about by thought or concentration, crystallizes and differentiates itself into all of the forms known to nature. Differentiates itself into the forces, powers, principles, and personalities. And as the number 9, as son of the number 9, you, dear human being, male, female, Elohim being, divine being, Allah in flesh being, hold all of these principles latent within yourself, and they will find their highest expression within yourself. But they will not find their highest expression within thine physical self, but within thine spiritual, thine solar, invisible self. West represents the physical world, which receives all light from the East, receives all power from the East, receives all knowledge, all laws of operation from the East. All life comes from the East, for from this East shines the beautiful rays of the sun. And the sun is the symbol of righteousness, the symbol of immutable perfection in expression, which, shining from the spiritual world symbolized by the East, comes into the West, quickens, and manifests life in action. And thus, it is symbolized that when one goes in search for unchanging reality, in search for spirit, in search for guidance, in search for power, one travels from the West, the physical body, into the East, the high heavens or the mountaintop, or that divine, perfect state of consciousness when you know all, see all, and are all, for you have united thy finite consciousness with the infinite consciousness. You have entered into that still small room within the heart, also symbolized as East, and have come into the presence of infinite force, infinite wisdom, and infinite love, the Holy Trinity, or pure, perfect action, pure spirit. And you will be bathed in these things, and your consciousness will be consecrated with these things. This is the goal of every traveling man and woman in search of light, traveling from the west to the east in search of light. Unchanging reality, applicable in all the circumstances and affairs of life. And once you enter that mountain and you receive those commandments inscribed upon thine soul, the traveling west is bringing that divine truth which you have now become, shining that divine light which shines from thine heart, as you have now consecrated thyself into the sun of righteousness and perfection, shining that light from the east into the west, into the material life, into your everyday life. And so we travel from the west to the east in search of light, and we travel from the east to the west to teach the gospel of goodwill to men and peace on earth, and to perform holy works such as the raising of the dead, the feeding of the multitudes by love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Islam and the direction to pray. In the Quran of Mecca, there is a parable or a story or something given unto you to ponder upon, where Allah states to Muhammad the Prophet, to the messenger, there is a dispute among the Arabs regarding the way to pray, whether they should pray to the east or if they should pray to the west. But know that thine Lord, the one God, is master of the east, the west, the inside, the outside, north and south, heaven and earth. Whatsoever way thou pray or turn thy face, thou shalt find me. Meaning, the truth is everywhere, and man need only clear and purify his heart by love. By love. Thus will opening the door of the heart and of the mind, allowing the truth to come in and abide. And when the truth comes in within your soul and abides, as the soul is the actuating or the life-giving or the animating principle of the physical world, thus manifesting automatic righteousness in all affairs of life. And so our goal is to seek light, to become a vessel, an embodiment of that light, to attune ourselves to the cosmic, traveling east, and to bring that divine, perfect understanding back to earth, to react off of our nervous system in perfected thoughts, perfected words, perfected actions, thus manifesting peace and harmony in all affairs of life. This is not mere poetry, but a quest that each and every human being is on. Islam, Hibu, Haq, Salam, Huriyatun wa Adl, the principles that you shall know and that shall unfold and shine within thy mind as you go into that holy of holies, alone with self and maker. Islam. And so the direction to pray is neither east nor west, but within, for the great meeting place with Allah is the heart. And I will give you a symbol. The heart chakra, situated in the very center of the body, in its symbolism in the east, is green. A green 12-pointed star, or a green flower with 12 points, in whose center rests a circle with a 6-pointed star in the center. The two interlocking triangles. The upward interlocking triangle symbolizing the immutable, the unchangeable, the spiritual, the true world, west or east. The inner, the perfect, the above, divine. The lower triangle symbolizes the material, matter, the world of flesh, the world of cause, changeable, imperfect, as changeable as water, and the upward triangle symbolizes fire, or the higher glands in the body, whereas the lower triangle symbolizes the lower glands of the body. The higher triangle symbolizes that within you whichever strives upward to unite with divinity and truth. The lower triangle is that whichever seeks to manifest on the lower plane. Thus we have higher self and lower self, whose great meeting place is in the heart. And the only thing that can make them one is love. For Allah so loved the world that he hath sent his only begotten Son in flesh, that man may comprehend. This only begotten Son is Christos, love. And love is the embodiment of all virtues. From the mysteries of the silent brotherhood of the East, we read, one morning after service in the temple, Yeshua, as he sat in silent thought, the rabbi said to Yoshua, "Which is the greatest of the 10 commands?" And Yeshua said, "I do not see the greatest of the 10 commands. I see a gold cord that runs through all the 10 commands, that binds them fast and makes them one. This cord is love, and it belongs to every word of all the 10 commands. If one is full of love, he can do nothing else but worship Allah, for Allah is love. If one is full of love, he cannot kill, he cannot falsely testify, he cannot covet, he can do naught but honor Allah and man. If one is full of love, he does not need commands of any kind." Meaning, love is an irremovable principle of the divine, an immutable principle of that unchanging reality that manifests all creation, of which you yourself are a microcosmic representation. Love is the embodiment of all the virtues. Possessing love, all the other virtues will come to thee in the proper place and in the proper time. Possessing love, you will have infinite wisdom at whenever necessary, and you will have the infinite power to manifest your objectives because they suit the whole. Inasmuch as you develop this love force within thine heart, will you be able to consciously see, understand, and recognize that all in creation is one harmonious unit. And you yourself, as the torchbearer of love, as the Son of Righteousness, have authority over all, heaven and earth, and the scepter of power is in thine hand. And he who gave this scepter to man said he must rule with love. We will read still further. And Rabbi Barakia said, "Your words are seasoned with the salt of wisdom that is from above. Who is the teacher who has opened up this truth to you?" And Yeshua said, "I do not know any teacher opened up this truth for me. It seems to me that truth was never shut, that it was always opened up. For truth is one, and it is everywhere. And if we open the windows of our minds, the truth will enter in and make herself at home. For truth can find her way through any crevice, any window, any open door." The rabbi said, "What hand is strong enough to open up the windows and the doors of our minds so truth can enter in?" And Yeshua said, "It seems to me that love, the golden cord that binds the 10 commands in one, is strong enough to open any human door so that truth can enter in and find her way and cause the heart to understand." Islam. And bringing our topic to resolution as we close. Again, from the mysteries of the silent brotherhood of the East, the master took down from the wall a scroll on which was written down the number and name of every attribute and character. And he said, The circle is the symbol of the perfect man. The 7 is the number of the perfect man. The Logos is the perfect word, that which creates, that which destroys, and that which saves. This Hebrew master is the Logos of the Holy One, the circle of the human race, the 7 of the time. And in the record book the scribe wrote down, the Logos, circle 7, and thus was Yeshua known. The master said, the Logos will give heed to what I say. No man can enter into light till he has found himself. Go forth and search till you have found your soul, and then return. Islam. And I explain, the circle is symbolic of the eternal, the immutable, Alpha and Omega, all that is manifested, all that is unmanifested, and the path between them, the Tao, the all, in all, manifesting all to bring all into the state of perfection. And as perfected love, possessed with infinite consciousness, then one man in a human flesh suit can rise at once to full consciousness of all that is in creation. You will know why the sun rises and the sun sets. You will know and understand your own moods and the nature of all human beings, the harmonious law that binds all as one as you go within. And so understanding, you will manifest 7, the number of the perfected man, the number of God, the number of law. And law is the nature of the one God as it expresses. And you yourself, holding a spark of that divine within, hold also that law of perfect expression within. The Logos, the perfect word, that which creates, that which destroys, and that which saves. The decree coming from that inmost part of you that is one with the all. Islam. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah, Father of the universe, Father of love, Father of truth, Father of peace, Father of freedom, Father of justice. Allah is our protector, our guide in salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophets, connected in a line, sealed by the circle 7. Ameen.